Hello, Nova Nation, and welcome back to Cats on the Court. I'm David Shapansky.
I'm Madison Hodges.
And I'm Nathan Mather.
So I've said in the past few episodes, a lot to get to, and truly that is the case this episode, because almost a week ago to the day that we're filming this, Villanova relieved head coach Kyle Neptune of his duties. So guys, want to get your thoughts on this, right? And even though it's not initial reactions, it's still pretty soon after the firing, and of course Villanova's still looking for a head coach right in the midst of that process. We'll have some updates, we'll talk about it later on in this episode. But what are your thoughts to Villanova deciding to relieve Coach Neptune of his duties?
Yeah, Neptune was a great person on and off the court, but on the court he just wasn't that match for Villanova and what Villanova's looking for in terms of their basketball program. I wish him the best in his future, but for right now, Villanova needed to let go of head coach Kyle Neptune.
Would absolutely echo what Madison's been saying, but just from the objective perspective, 54-47 in the past 3 years and not making the tournament in any of them, which is being played right now as we record this episode. Nova Nation expects to be in the tournament every single year, and there were a lot of games this season and in the past too, but this season especially, where you could look to late game collapses, especially when we were against the press, offensive failures, and a lot of that could be attributed to Kyle Neptune's failures in late game adjustments and coaching in general. So I think it's the right move. Again, it's sad to fire anyone in any position, but we need to move forward.
Yeah, I think like Madison said, I mean, he truly is a great person, and I think he has a larger personality than I think people got to see. I mean, he's a funny guy. I don't think that really showed a whole lot. I think a lot of times when you saw him or heard his post-game press conferences, it was always very serious, but truly a nice guy, and we do wish him the best wherever he lands. But Nathan, also to a really good point there. I mean, for Villanova, there really just wasn't enough progress over the past couple of years, right? You won 10 conference games, then 10 conference games in the second year, now 11 this year. But for Nova Nation, I mean, with the talent also Villanova had, you expected it to be better. And, you know, college basketball is now a business as much as it is, trying to win on the court. It's also about trying to get as much donor money for the university as possible. So Villanova deciding to move on. Obviously now Villanova has to find someone to fill that position, a new head coach, and right now the Wildcats are in the midst of that search. A lot of different names have been thrown out there, and it's changed over the past couple days. But two questions for you guys. One, who do you think will become the next head coach? And then two, who would be your best choice to become the next head coach? So one, who do you want? Two, who do you think will be?
Yeah, I personally don't have a top pick right now. Obviously, we need somebody who will be able to fill this big role that Villanova has here at their basketball program and be able to play Villanova basketball. As you had stated, we've heard a lot of different names getting thrown around. Richard Pitino, Chris Collins, the head coach at VCU. Any of those could be potentially good picks, but we definitely need somebody who can help bring back this Villanova program back to life.
Well, a week ago, to answer your first question, David, who do I think would have gotten the job, it looked like Chris Collins out of Northwestern was getting a lot of steam. But now, in the recent days, Kevin Willard out of Maryland has been seemingly the favorite for the Wildcats, and that's honestly who I would want the most. They're a 4 seed right now in the tournament, got Derek Queen in last year's recruiting class, NBA talent right there.
Had an excellent game against us.
He really did, unfortunately. Eric played great, but Queen matched him pretty well. And I would think it's either Willard or Porter Moser. Remember, he did very well with Loyola Chicago back in, I think it was 2018, Sister Jean Final Four run, and has Oklahoma right now, his current team in the tournament, as an 8 seed to play UConn today. So I think either of those guys who are in the tournament and have the potential to maybe make a couple winning games here are who we should pick.
I think for me, if you have any chance to give Kevin Willard a blank check, you do it. You run in and give it to him because he is an excellent coach. And what Maryland has done, and I mean, they have a lot of talent there, which is a big part of it, a lot of young talent, which helps your program, but he's a really good coach. I know that he's unhappy with the resources that Maryland is given, and actually this morning, prior to us filming this on Friday afternoon, Maryland's AD left for SMU, so a lot of changes going on there, and it seems like it's definitely more possible that Villanova could be trending towards Willard over the past couple hours. But also, too, wanted to bring up Porter Moser, who I think is also one of the top options, as Nathan had said, and you know, Moser is really interesting because he's a guy who had a lot of success at Loyola Chicago, had 4 straight 20-win seasons, but at Oklahoma really hasn't had the same amount of success. I mean, he's in the tournament, but I mean, pretty much as long as you were an SEC team this year, you got into the tournament. So Oklahoma has not had a whole lot of success. So we'll see if that changes. It's been some time, and he hasn't had as much success in the era after the NIL has really become a big deal.
Another quick point about this, it's going to be very interesting to see for the next Villanova head coach, can we retain Dante Allen? He just decommitted as of a few hours ago, so seeing if it's Willard, if it's Moser, if it's Collins, trying to get our top and really only recruit we have in this class back to the Wildcats is going to be imperative.
Yeah, I was going to say that was our only recruit as of right now, so definitely with whatever head coach that comes in needs to be able to have a positive way to getting new recruits as well. Just as you had mentioned, we had just lost ours.
I think there's going to be a lot of roster turnover. I mean, you're losing all of your starters. You have to convince players like Tyler Perkins, Alexander Gablagov, Sash, as they like to call him. You have to convince those younger players to also come back. Chris Parker, Jordan Dumont.
Matt Hodge.
Exactly. Matt Hodge. You have a class with Matt Hodge.
Yeah.
So, I mean, trying to convince these players to come back, it's going to be kind of difficult because, I mean, even if they hire a great head coach, I mean, all these players are pretty much recruited by Coach Neptune, and now you have a complete, 360 turnaround. I know the school's calling it a leadership change, so, a complete different, turnaround for Villanova. All right, final question here in the men's basketball portion of today's show. How will Villanova perform in the Crown Tournament? That's coming up. Villanova's first game in early April against Colorado in Las Vegas. This new tournament that, the college basketball, really Big East, Big Ten, the two big conferences participating in that. They're trying it out first year. What are your thoughts on Villanova's kind of run or possible run in the Crown Tournament?
Yeah, it'll be definitely interesting to see how Villanova performs. This is going to be a new tournament for everyone, so nobody's really going in not knowing a whole lot, but I feel like Villanova can do a really good job and go far in this tournament if, again, we play Villanova basketball and our defense and our offense is on point. And then the winners against USC and Tulane will be another difficult challenge as well, but if Villanova continues to do well, they can make it far.
I think we have a favorable 4. I think that we could reach the semifinals, which could potentially set up a matchup against Cincinnati, which was one of our biggest wins way back in December. So where we go from there, again, it's sort of like a last hurrah for all these guys. As you said, our top 6 are almost pretty much guaranteed gone. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys, for one last time, play together under Mike Nardi as well. Maybe he can coach his way into the job. I know it's a very long shot, but if he wins the tournament and they look very good, he could definitely help his case. So a lot at stake here.
I would be really surprised if anyone internal was the next head coach for Villanova.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it would be really nice for Villanova to be able to retain Nardi because, I mean, he's been here for a long time, obviously, knows the culture. And especially if you're bringing a guy like Kevin Willard, who I'm sure is going to want to bring in his own staff and his own culture, having someone like Nardi to be there to support him in terms of the Villanova way, I think would be really big. But Crown Tournament-wise, Boise State, I think, is going to be really tough to beat. They almost got into the tournament. Cincinnati's good as well. Villanova definitely has a top 3, top 4 chance in my opinion, but I mean the way that they have played in the NIT over the past couple of years, Villanova, they haven't fared all that well in postseason tournaments over the past couple of seasons. We'll see if that changes. So obviously a lot to look forward to. A lot of changes going to be happening. We'll have some updates for you as soon as we hear about a new head coach here on the main line. But it's been a lot of things changing over the past couple of days, but we'll have some answers soon. So thanks everybody for tuning in to this episode of Cats on the Court. I'm David Shabansky.
I'm Madison Hodges.
And I'm Nathan Mather.
And go Cats!